Welcome to this week's episode of the Dynamis Podcast. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes that we've done in a while, and I'll tell you why. Because selfishly, every time I get one of my friends in the studio, we reconnect. A friend who is a fellow believer, an entrepreneur, just somebody who wants growth, surrounds themselves with growth-oriented mindsets, who wants to get to the next level, wants to get challenged and pushed and encouraged. That's the kind of person that I want to be in a room with, and that's the kind of person I would encourage you to get in the room with. My guest today is a really good friend of mine who I've grown a closer relationship over the years recently with. His name's Brandon Lobbin, and Brandon owns a production company called Heartfelt Productions. It is listen to what I'm saying, it is the premier production agency in Las Vegas. And they cover everything. I mean, this guy does everything from weddings to real estate to, private content on private jets with Sean Cannell. What was this? Patrick Bet-David.
Yep.
You're filming Ryan Pineda's content. You were in Brad Lee's studio filming the biggest names in the industry. You're in the room, and your story, your progression, how you got here, how you're building your company, incredibly inspirational. I'm stoked to have you today. So Brandon, welcome to the Dynamis Podcast.
Oh, it's an honor. And like I said, Tim, this is going to be just one of my faves. We get to dive in. We get to, our relationship over the last couple of years, we push each other. I've seen your growth too, where you're like, what's a camera? And now you're here, you show up today and you have all your camera gear dialed in. You're like, everything's set up here. And I was like, we'll just use this stuff. And I'm like, I love to see what you're doing in the community, how you're molding, how you're creating, and how you're building just your systems on social media. I'm watching your posts, what you're doing up there, and you're building this, what is it, Beers and Brews?
Pints and Properties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was wrong, Beers and Brews. But
close.
Yeah, exactly. But you're building this community at your age, and it's an honor to see as well.
Dude, it's been, you and I have really been on this growth trend together.
Yes.
I mean, I remember I would come to town and I scrounged together this last minute class to teach realtors, and I just messaged you hey, there's going to be a big name there. It could be good for your business. There's this whale realtor. And you show up, you brought everything with you. And really, you showed up to support me. You made it happen. You showed up, and we were pushing each other in the growth mindset. I'm giving you books to read, and you're challenging me back with personal business challenges, and you're helping me set up my production equipment, and we're challenging each other in faith. That's something that we have in common in our relationship is we're both believers, we're both entrepreneurs, we're both trying to get to the next level, and we just open source information and we share and encourage. Every post you make. It's I'm liking your post, you're liking my post, and we're just trying to push each other to the next level. So this is a really exciting episode. You have a lot going on. Could you just give us really quickly, tell me about Heartfelt Productions.
All right. So Heartfelt Productions, where do I begin? It's we started basically it was just in the beginning. I started at church, guys. One kid, I came back from San Diego, started at church, and one of my friends said, here's a camera. This is 5 years ago. I didn't know. He goes, here you go. And I'm like, I don't know aperture. I don't know shutter speed. I don't know anything about it. So started filming at church, and I really connected to see what God was doing in the rooms behind the production aspect. And I just felt like God was calling me, hey, this is your path now. This is where you need to be to tell those heartfelt stories throughout the community of Las Vegas. And I'm like, how am I going to do it? And it's just he's shown me the way. Some of these stories that you can't even compare of what we're doing here is because of his plan. Because like I said, Sean Cannell, Omar El Takori, Ryan Pineda, and just
some of the biggest names in the game.
And that's what I'm saying. And I've been in the room with all these guys. And I'm just how did I get there? And we're filming content, and I'm learning from the best. And that's what I've implemented into our business, is because I'm around the best in the business. And it's how can we transform ourselves to get better? But not only that, but build the community of people around you, just like us. How can you support each other? Entrepreneurship is a tough game. A lot of people feel lonely. But if you could build that community, and if you can trust others to get there, because it's a long road, it's a journey. Every day you're up, you're winning, and every day sometimes you could lose big. But it's about creating that core family that you can go along with the journey.
Okay, so I want to give a large overview of Heartfelt Production.
Okay.
I want to give a 10,000 foot view of how the company's organized and what you guys are doing. But when you're sitting here telling me about, this journey and the progression, I almost started laughing out loud because
Right.
dude, you're on private jets filming like tier 1 top level talent, okay?
Yeah.
And you're the guy people call.
Exactly.
Your name is known in Las Vegas. When somebody comes to Las Vegas and throws an event, you are the guy. Like, you're the guy people are calling. And I almost started laughing thinking about that because how I met you was this is a hilarious story.
Right.
My mom and your dad used to work together in the industry years and years ago. Your dad was a realtor,
Yep.
and my mom was a lender, is still, okay? But then your dad shifted, and how I connected with you is my mom hired your company for us to do family pictures here in Las
Exactly,
Vegas.
yeah.
So the first time I met you,
Yep.
you were sitting there taking snapshots of me and my family, and my
yeah.
daughter was like throwing a fit. And I remember that you and I just had a short conversation.
Like literally.
Literally, it was a tiny conversation. You told me, yeah, I'm doing social media. And I was like, oh, I'm actually starting to do some social media too. And
Yeah.
here's what I'm doing. I'm an investor. And I followed you on social media that day. And I looked at your profile and I was like, oh, wow, he's going for it. And I think you followed me back.
I did.
It was symbiotic in that relationship. But I'm kind of giggling to myself now because you don't do anything like that anymore. You're not doing like
Correct.
still photos. You're not doing family photos. God put us together at a very short time, like this short window. God put us together and a relationship was sparked. And now just to see your progression now,
Exactly.
flying on private jets in the biggest names, in the biggest rooms in Vegas,
Uh-huh.
dude, there is no, I mean, look, I don't care how you slice it. There's undeniably the presence of God in your journey to where you are right now.
100%.
There's no mistaking it. You used to be a baseball player.
Yeah.
And now look what you're doing now and the company that you're growing and the people that you're bringing on and onboarding, the lives that you're changing. Okay. Tell me, what is Heartfelt Productions? Can you give me like a breakdown of the org, the different wings? Like, what do you guys specifically
So I'll
specialize
give
in?
you the overall,
Yeah.
let's get into the meat potatoes. So Heartfelt Productions is just, we're telling those heartfelt stories around the community of Las Vegas and really getting into depth of stories that you don't hear. And, I'm grateful to share those stories. So let's go from the top down. So Heartfelt Productions, the first company is we do, weddings. We did about 35 weddings this year, and that's a full business just handling the wedding side. And we got to film some of the biggest weddings here in Las Vegas. And me and my dad started that about 4 years ago. And he retired, and he's a real estate agent. Never picked up a camera too, and I'm like, do you want to, start filming weddings with me? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Because he just wrote a book about marriage called Change Within, Marriages Start, And I'm just like, you know what? He has a passion for these couples. And we get on Zooms together, and he's talking to these couples, and it is God's light bringing out his passion for these couples, which is mind-blowing, right? And it's just been a grateful journey just on the wedding side, The next thing is, guys, is the real estate side. We film amazing luxury homes here in Las Vegas and, with Joe D. Raffaelli. We, basically my dad known him for about 25 years. He had an office space. We've started creating this amazing relationship together, and we're actually building out his YouTube channel, and it's called Las Vegas Life Off Strip. And he's going around to these different communities. We just filmed a podcast at the Smith Center.
Oh, cool.
And it's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. And it's just to see what he's doing and the value he's bringing. And he'll be on the show later with you today, and he could discuss more about that. Another one of the production companies, like you said, it's the entrepreneur, filming these major events, like with Sean Cannell, Omar El Takori, the Think Media team.
Yeah.
Ryan Pineda, his media team. And, another thing is that we film like Make-A-Wish too.
Oh, that's right.
And the Las Vegas Aviators. And it's just like...
Oh, that's right. Are you still doing the Aviators?
Yeah, uh-huh. So we produced their hype video this year.
That's
on
crazy.
the biggest screen in, the country. And it was just, we got to go to Nellis Air Force Base, but that's another topic. But it's just, it's cool to be in these rooms with these big-time players in Vegas because that's where I've learned the most.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you one story right here. I got to film a $10,000 mastermind group, and it was a $10,000 per ticket.
Per ticket.
We're there filming, And I'm just saying, when you're in these groups, you start to think differently.
Totally.
You start to going, there's more in life, because all these big time entrepreneurs, they're thinking about impact. They're thinking about community and thinking about groups of how can we help others get to another level. Totally different than the 9-to-5 job where you're just going day to day. But when you become around bigger thinkers, it makes you want to become a bigger, better, and inspire and build a bigger community.
Yeah, it happens naturally,
Yeah.
right? I think one of the first times that you came out to film one of my tiny little
Yeah.
events, I was telling you about this mastermind. I'm like, hey, where are you at? What's your long-term goal? You need to get into these kinds of rooms
Yep.
because it changes your mindset.
It
And if
does.
you think about it, if you're stuck around 5 people that everything is a problem and they're the victim and there's no answers
Mm-hmm.
and everything's always poor me, you're going to be the 6th, right?
Yes.
But if you get around people that are finding solutions, looking and having open eyes into where God's leading them and they're walking in faith in that direction, boom, what happens? Doors are unlocked, pathways are forged, and next thing you know, you're on private jets with Sean Cannell.
Oh, yeah.
You're not taking still photos at Red Rocks of family portraits
Exactly.
anymore.
And let me talk about that. So a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've always been a step ahead, like how can I get to the next level? It comes back to baseball, working on your game, getting better each and every day. And how can I perform that into business? And I realized like when I started taking photography, that's how I got in the door. I had to make money to realize where my passion and what, God's plan was. Because if I'm not taking family photos, if I'm not doing real estate photography and molding myself at the beginning stages, a lot of people don't get, you have to put in the work, do still photos, do real estate shoots, just get in the rooms for about 2 to 3 years and sacrifice, because you got to build those relationships.
Absolutely.
But you also have to do a high caliber job so people can trust you. So we started doing this in the community, and people were starting to notice like, oh, the photos are good. So we built I had a VA where we have all our real estate photography, we send them out, everything's done. So we built the systems and processes for that I didn't have to touch it. And then I realized, you know what, there's more in life than, okay, I got to start pulling myself back out of these systems, start getting guys in the team. But that's another thing. Finding a group of people has been one of the hardest things for me in the last couple years. And then I've been praying about it. I'm like, just God, can you, just surround us around, amazing group of people. And this year I have 5 guys that I can count on to go on these shoots, and it has leveled up our production shoots. We have built this community, but it takes work. Like they're always, how do you get there? That's how you get there, by putting in the work, taking those low-paying jobs, working on those systems, building your platforms to get to the next level, and then going all in. And then if you continue on this growth journey, people will start to, we're not going to call Brandon for still photos. He's, doing better production. So people see you in a different light
Right.
when you're filming. So
Well, that's how you change your status, is you change your
Yes.
behavior. And then you just stay so consistent for so long.
Yes.
You fail forward so long that it physically becomes unreasonable for you to suck at something anymore.
exactly.
And you're known. Like your identity, your status in the community is reborn. It's reknown because you have a stack of undeniable proof of, this is who I am. This is the work that I do. I don't
Yes.
just do still photos anymore.
Right.
I have this stack of evidence of, no, I fly in private jets with high-level
Oh, yeah.
entrepreneurs. So back to your companies, are you
Yeah.
still doing, I know you mentioned Joey D, you were doing like shoots and videography for, freelance work for realtors. Are you still doing that?
Oh, yeah. So, like right now, but the real estate market has changed, right? So, you know this as well. So, basically, back in the day where, we still have all these companies. And this is why I tell a lot of people, like, you need a couple in this industry. A lot of my friends are struggling during this time because they're only doing one thing.
Right.
They're just doing, weddings, or they're just doing conferences, or they're just doing real estate. Imagine like right now, the real estate market went down.
Totally.
There's not as many houses on the market. So the photography side has kind of dwindled. So what are you going to do as an entrepreneur? You got to pivot. You got to go, okay, if that's not doing well, where can I go from there? So we were like, okay, in the wedding seasons, we're going to just hammer out weddings and just go from that part. When it's conference season, we'll just handle the conference side. So each season in Las Vegas, we can handle whatever, business comes from it. And then over the years, people go, how can you film so much? It's because I was in the rooms with, real estate. I was in the rooms with the entrepreneurs. I was in the rooms with the weddings and filming as we went and filming drones. Like, people see me online now, and one guy texted me yesterday. He's the drone king of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know about the production side.
Right.
Or the other guy goes, he has a wedding company, just hire him from weddings. So on Instagram, especially, I have built out these different niches and then links back to the website that people just see the company and go, that's who we are. And they realize, like, okay, that's the one thing. If you can build out your niche, and people will see you in a different light just for like weddings or just for real estate or just for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is what I said in the beginning of this episode. You are like, this, Heartfelt is the premier production company in Las Vegas because it's so dynamic. And something that's really cool is you're not just, focusing on one area of expertise, and what it's making you as an individual, as a future investor, and as an entrepreneur is incredibly dynamic.
Right.
And think about who you have in your phone book now. With credibility, and you have credibility with them when you have a problem or you have a project that you want to work on, because you have so much equity with these individuals, because you've probably given more than you've actually received, if you really
100%.
think about it.
That's the name of the game.
When that pops up in the future, it's all about greasing the wheels of progress. And you have people that are cheering for you to win, these like-minded individuals, and you're just sucking up all this information. You're in that room, that's $10,000 a ticket. How many people can sit in a room and pay $10,000 just to sit in an event? They're paying to be there. You're getting paid to be in the room. And you're working.
Yep.
But tell me you're not learning.
Oh, I'm learning every shoot. And that's the thing. Like, what I have learned over the last 4 years, and the thing is, it's crazy because the people that I'm learning from, they're not just staying in one place.
They're moving.
They're moving
Dynamic.
constantly. So I started, doing the photos 4 years ago. And,
think about that. 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Think about the gain in that time. Think about just 1 year ago.
Right.
The progression that the amount you've
like
grown.
this year,
Yeah.
all those relationships, all those deposits, all that trust people have in our company, in our, business is unbelievable, because you just got to continue to put little deposits out each day. And a lot of people in this industry, Vegas is a very fast-paced game. A lot of people are in it for the money.
Totally.
And, and I'm in it for the relationship.
Absolutely.
And our team is in it for the relationship. And a lot of people have to, get that into their mindset. It's like, hey, it's about the relationship game and how you can impact and how you can tell these stories on film. Like, I've been blessed to, our films are playing at these huge galas now.
Oh, cool.
Every year for different organizations. And I'm talking like there's thousands of people watching our films come to life. But just from that one film, how many people are going to get inspired? How is that one film going to make a difference within the community? And it's just been incredible just to see people coming up like, that film made a difference. That film inspired me. Or just watching that film made a wish come true.
Yeah.
Like, it's truly grateful.
When you're talking about that, something that's popping into my mind, I'm kind of giggling to myself because, your dad and I are friends too, and he follows me on social media. He's standing over in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And so I'll make, I do a lot of social media marketing, so do you.
Yep.
And I'll make a post, and your dad's comments to me are always like, well, also, God's got his hand in there or something like that, know? And I'm always like, yeah, hey man, you're right. He keeps me spiritually focused when I get a little worldly sometimes, but you have a good mentor in your life that's really helping you, stay laser focused as you're growing this company. What's your org chart look like? This is a very lean company. Honestly, you're one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Right.
It's a very lean company. Very lean.
It's very lean.
For the amount of volume that you're doing, what does your org chart look like?
So right now, like I said, it started with me and my dad. My dad was in real estate 37 years, successful entrepreneur. That's where I get the drive from. Like, I look at him and I'm like, he's 70 years old We're going on these shoots, and he's out producing these. He has more energy than like 21-year-olds on our team. And that's where I get it. And you look at him, and he's an inspiration. Like, he always brings us to light. He's always, in the Word. And just to see him and for us to mold this together is just, it's been a blessing. And to get back to what the chart is, so we decided this year is more about building those systems. So my dad was like, he's handling all the books. He's handling all the contracts. Everything goes through him. Emails, everything's through my dad now. So I could just focus on the creative aspect of, okay, this is the shot list, this is the shoot, this is what I need to get done, because there's a lot of things on our plate. And that's where it came into this year too. It's like the team. Now we have these group of guys, they see, oh, Brandon's not going away. He's putting in the work. They see how hard we're working behind the scenes. People want to be a part of that. I get message on DMs now in DMs where, hey, can I work for your company? Hey, can I do this? Because people see the quality, they see the relationships, and they see the community that we're building. And basically, he handles all the books. I'm going out to shoot. We have an editor that's handling stuff on the back end. So that's the hardest part too, the editing side of things.
Oh, man.
A lot of people don't realize, and I've been, doing this every single day for the last 4 years. So my mind, where I can get an edit done in less than a couple hours now, where it would take an editor week to 2 weeks.
Wow.
Where I'm just so I'm training a couple editors right now.
Yeah.
Just to fill in that process. We have systems now.
Are you, when you're training it, are you making, and this is, we're going to get it kind of, we're squirreling into the business side, just because the entrepreneurial side of my brain.
Yeah.
Are you recording your editing processes so that you can just send it to new employees? Do you have training files of here's my workflow, screen recordings, that kind of stuff?
So right now I need to do that.
You need to do that.
Exactly. So we just got into a funnel system where we're going to start creating different platforms now, because I feel like that's it. When you get so busy, I need to start recording everything I do.
Takes 2 seconds. Just turn on Loom or something like
Yep.
that. They have AI that comes in and it transcripts what you're saying. It makes action items. You could search it in a library. So you'd be like, how do, workflow of editing a wedding preview or something like that.
Exactly.
And it could just be you, and it's your desktop, and you're just flowing through. And then you could have files for whatever, the podcast recording or whatever.
Exactly.
You need to start doing that for sure.
That's 2024.
2024.
Next year when we're doing a podcast like this, we're doing it.
So it's you and your dad. And when I met you, that's all it was you and your dad. And then I see every once in a while you have another guy hanging out with a camera. Who else do you have on the team?
So right now, Oziel, I actually met him at a conference. Crazy story, right? So we were at the Grow With Video conference. He was seeing me around the stage filming all of the production for Think Media. And he comes up to me. He's like, man, what do you do? I love to get involved. He's 20 years old. I saw he was driven. Not a lot of 20-year-olds are coming up saying, how can I be an entrepreneur? How can I start my business? So I was like, hey, let's go on a shoot. I'll show you how to fly the drones. We'll capture some B-roll. He shows up that day and he goes, Brandon, you won't believe it. I just got let go from content creation because the investors were cutting back, so they had to let him go. So he's like, can I work for you? I go, let's start. I have a wedding tomorrow. And he's been basically at all the weddings filming with us. And, we've been training him. He's filming for Make-A-Wish now. He's done a couple real estate shoots. And he's just been a go-to kid that we can count on. He's working hard. He wants to learn. And just something like that. So Oziel's doing amazing things. And he actually got 3 weddings this year.
That's awesome.
From starting from last year on his own. And I go, hey, you want to go? And he's going after it. And it's cool to see. The next guy is Nick Powers, phenomenal friend. And we started this relationship about 3-4 years ago as well. And he's a big-time powerhouse photographer here in Las Vegas. And he comes up, hey, I want to start learning video. And I was teaching him the last couple years, and just to see what he's doing, and he's our production assistant. He's my go-to guy on these bigger shoots. We're doing full conferences over 1,000 people, and he's on the back end. He's getting everything. He has the walkie-talkies telling everybody where to go. And Nick is just a phenomenal guy. And it's finding these guys that you can build those relationships. The one thing I learned about the freelance industry is it's like the real estate. Everybody wants to do it on their own, right? But if you can do it you can't do it on your own. You need a group of guys that can come together and say, hey, if you need help on a shoot, I can help you out.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of people like that in this industry where it's like, hey, it's just me. But how can you help them out?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
So you're kind of creating community through,
Oh, yeah.
through like, hey, I'll scratch your back when you need it.
Right.
So it's you, your dad, and then two others?
And then Bassy too, handling all the editing.
Okay. So you got three.
Exactly. Yep.
Dude, that is lean. With the amount of production that you're doing?
And that's the thing. So, like, I'm really in the stage of, like, where do we want to scale the businesses in the next couple years? Because I see this huge opportunity where we can just niche down in multiple aspects. Like, hey, here's the conference. Here's the wedding. Here's the real estate.
It's almost like the guys that you have there that you're training up, you're building culture, pouring into, each of them could run one of those individual divisions.
Correct.
And now you're focused on maintaining the relationships and overseeing each wing of the company, essentially.
100%.
Kind of pull yourself back. That's where I see like your progression.
Right.
Hilarious from still photos at Red Rocks. It's just so crazy. Okay. So when I do these interviews, I send out a questionnaire.
Okay.
And typically the questionnaire, it helps me prep for the interview. And, I ask this classic question. It's in every questionnaire. It says, hey, if you were to give a 30-minute TED Talk, what would your TED Talk be about? And your response was that anybody can become an expert. You just have to find good mentors, duplicate what they're doing, and one of your main bullet points in your response was expect to fail. Expect to fail and fail often. And I love that because I'm a big proponent of, look, it's unrealistic to think that when you start down a new venture or a new road, you're not going to fail. You should welcome the failure. You should fail as frequently and as fast as possible. The trick is don't repeat the failures. Learn. Take the tuition from the failure and apply it to the next lesson and become the new, more formidable version of yourself. And, a vision I had when I read your response, expect to fail. I used to be a fireman. And every day we would get in the rig when the tones would go off, sit in the front seat of the fire truck, and before the garage doors would lift open, there was these big, bold words, and they said, expect fire and expect victims. Now, how many times did you go and there was a fire and victims? Rare. It was like 1% of the time. However, every day when you got in that truck and you went out the door and the garage opened, but the last thing that you saw in big, bold, black and red letters, expect fire, expect victims. And it made me think of your statement, expect to fail. And why it made me think of that is because when you expect to fail on the road to success, you're activating, the reticulating activating system in your mind, which means that you're subconsciously, unconsciously clearing a pathway to success. And when you're preparing yourself for failing forward and you're open to success all around you, you're looking for success, it's more naturally going to become available to you.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, you said anybody can be successful. Do you really think anybody can be successful?
Anybody can. Like, if I go back to my journey as a kid, like, basically, I was told I had a speech disorder. I have ADHD, and I had to go into my mom, like, hooked on phonics, basically just to talk and to communicate. Like, people were saying, oh, he's on a lower spectrum. And I always had a chip on my shoulder. And same thing, like, when I was born, I was pigeon-toed really bad. The doctor said, hey, we need to break your legs. This kid's not going to be able to run. I played college baseball. So growing up, I was always never the best. I was always the underdog saying. And I always had to work, if it was in school, 10, 20 to 30 times harder just to keep up with these people that, oh, it's just a breeze. So I had to mold myself getting through that. And, doing that and playing baseball and just this entrepreneurship journey is, I've always expected, like, you are going to fail. You are going to have consequences. Like, one of my friends said, I met him, he was at a wedding that we got to go to recently. He was like, Brandon, the way you're talking now, is unbelievable. You couldn't even say sentences back in the day. And like people would make fun of me. They would call like lobinisms on the scoreboard. And it's like the way I talked, and it was just, you have to grow into who you are. You can live in that self-doubt and say, I'm no good. I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be prepared. But if you prepare yourself for the future, if you expect to go, how am I going to learn on each and every shoot? So every shoot I go and I'm like, what am I learning today? How am I going to grasp and get better? Because I'm going to do something wrong on a shoot where I'm like, okay, that's going to be better for the next shoot. So just always expecting to fail, always learning from your mistakes, and just say, today was a bad day on set or something. Learn from that, get better, and that's not going to happen again. At least, like me and my dad were talking this the other day, the amount of shoots we're doing, like now I can kind of go into a shoot knowing what to expect because I've done it 10, 20, 30, 100 times. It's like with baseball. If you do something 10,000 times, you kind of get into that muscle memory. And that's what we've been doing going on these different shoots where I could see the edit in my head before the video's even done.
Totally.
So
yeah, and that's the thing is like when you get into that level of expertise, people who aren't doing the work, who are sitting on the sidelines, who are looking at you, that's not fair.
Right.
They have this painting statement of that guy's arrogant. That's arrogant. He's telling me how it's going to go, how it's going to happen. But what they don't see is the thousands and thousands and thousands of repetitions to get there. It's not arrogance, it's confidence. And that confidence comes from a stack of what we were talking about, undeniable proof of action. And it takes that proof of action and expecting to fail. I'll say, you mentioned ADD.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. ADD, speech disorder. It seems to me that the further I push into these circles, the more all of these ultra successful people have those traits in common. It's that small chip that keeps them working and keeps them hungry. When people are comfortable and it's status quo, they take their foot off the accelerator. But people who feel like I have to work 10 times as hard just to be equal to, what happens is you learn how to work incredibly hard. Okay? And hard work supersedes talent when talent doesn't work. 100%. There's this trend, like this growth trend where there's the breakover point where this guy's coasting, and now you've accumulated all these tools and a mindset and a spiritual faith and resiliency that when you guys meet at that arc, well, now you're just ready for stage 2 of that rocket ship to boost off. And that's what I see in a person just like you. That's something that all those successful guys have in common is that small little, you're not good enough chip,
Exactly. And that's what I've seen too, where it's like all these successful people, I was horrible at school. I didn't know how to, get by. And it's just like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, school was the only reason why I got through college was because I was determined to play baseball. And my dad played professional ball. I was on that path talking to the Red Sox and it didn't work out. But that is the reason why I got through college. And then I get a degree and I go, what am I doing with this? Go working in and out. I'm a park ranger making $10, $11 an hour. And there has to be more than this. And that's when I came back to Vegas. The kid handed me a camera and I go, that's
the segue. That's a perfect segue because, where I really want to take this show into is, God's nudging and you listening and how you had the wisdom to listen to God nudging. And then what I'd like to do is end the show with, where's Heartfelt going? I want to know what is the growth trend in the next 5, 10, this is a 7-figure company all day long. And I want to know about that. So you devoted the entire, the beginning portion of your life to baseball, which there's a lot of lessons from baseball to entrepreneurship. Baseball is constant failure. Just look at the statistics of baseball. You're failing. That's all you do is fail.
If if you hit 300, you're failing 7 out of 10 times.
7 out of 10. And people are stoked for a 300 average, So you're training yourself like this is the path to progress. Just fail forward, improve, fail forward. So your entire childhood is devoted to baseball. You've got this vision. Dad played pro ball. When you devote a significant chunk of your life, it becomes smaller and smaller the more years you stack on. But initially, that's a lot of sacrifice and it's a lot of time. And when kids are out, goofing off and jumping their bike, you're training, you're throwing, you're drilling, you're going to camps. And to reach the end of that road, and you've got your idea of what you want to do. You're leading yourself. This is my path. This is where I'm supposed to go. And all of a sudden it's taken away from you.
Yep.
How did you have the wisdom in that moment to really submit and open yourself up to where God was leading you? Because it's so evident. Like, God delivered you exactly to where you should be right now. And it's still evolving.
Yeah.
You know, next year, if we recorded another episode,
Right.
you're going to be talking about completely different things.
True.
But how did the human side of you let go and open yourself up to God's gentle nudging of, hey, man, it's not professional baseball. Here's a camera. And by the way, your local church needs help with some production.
Right. I think, honestly, like looking back at it after college, right, when it's the last day of the season and you go, I'm done. You look at the cleats, you look at the bag, and you go, my whole life was dedicated to this. And now I'm just going to put it in my garage, never pick up a baseball bat, never pick up a glove, never throw a ball. And I think what God did, or what he did in my journey, was basically I had to go through the trial and tribulations to, working that 9-to-5 job, being, very unhappy in my life, going to, a place that I just show up like from, 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock in the afternoon or at night. And I'm just like, this is just not it. And it was 2-3 years where I'm just like grinding, and I'm like, there has to be more to this. And, I was just working those jobs, and then I was like, you know what? I was living in San Diego, and the prices out there, you can't make a living, working 2 jobs, even with a degree. And I moved back to Vegas. And I was nudged by God back in the day in San Diego, where I was just filming on a phone, and I kind of heard this voice like, pick up a camera, like start making videos. So I started making little videos on my iPhone, absolutely horrible. And I look back, but that was the process in San Diego, where I started with these little videos, and then somehow I found my way back in Vegas, went to church, and literally the kid goes, here's a camera, pick it up. And then I was just, what am I going to do? And then it just kept leading from this stage of life to this stage. And you just see the journey when looking back. I don't look back a lot, but you see where God's path has led over the time and over these stories, because you can't make some of this stuff up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems the people that end up with the most fruitful lives are the ones that submit to the doors that God opens. And, when you picked up that first camera at church,
Yeah.
you could have never predicted you were going to be filming on a private jet for some of the,
Right.
like these top entrepreneurs. You could have never predicted that. You thought, no, my identity is I'm a baseball player.
Yep.
Honestly, the human side of you probably even thought picking up this camera at my local church is somewhat beneath where I should be. Like, this is,
Exactly.
and letting go of that ego, the human ego, and really just submitting to God in faith and saying, okay, God, this wasn't my plan,
Yep.
but I want your plan, not my plan. And
Exactly.
just like the absolute fruit that it's reaped, and then not only in your life, but how it's benefiting in other people's lives, and just the symbiosis and the ripple effect in your communities and in your families and your,
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy.
The same thing too. I moved back to church, and Brittany, like, I'm getting married this year, and like, she was in that church group, and literally I went up to her and I go, here's my gimbal. You want to do a video on my iPhone with a little gimbal? And she was like, oh my gosh, like it was funny, and like, she's been like, that's another thing that we, can get into, but it's family too. It's God putting those people in your life and just being blessed, and to have somebody to support you through the journey as an entrepreneur. And, my fiance has just been grateful to see, because she's been from just where I was with a camera, but she has supported, go after your dreams, make that happen. I support you. And to have that support in a relationship is another, we could talk about this all day, but another game changer.
It's a superpower.
It is a superpower.
Yeah, it's a superpower.
Because you go home and they're there, hey, how can I support you? What can I do? And I'm the same way with her.
Yeah.
How can I be there for you? And when you have that, the sky's the limit.
I mean, I have a partner at home right
Yeah.
now, sharing,
Right.
like shouldering more than her share of the load so that I can be here with you, growing
Yeah.
our relationship. You know,
Mhm.
she carries that load for me. I have a partner
Yeah.
equal, you know, and it's a huge blessing. You and I have a lot of things in common like that. We have parents
Yeah.
that keep us morally straight and spiritually aligned. We have
Mhm.
partners at home. We're very blessed.
We are.
We're very blessed. So, and today, this is a special episode today
Right.
because number one, just you and I get together, but we're in your podcast studio
Oh, yeah.
here. So like we're shooting content in the studio that you built right before we started producing, you know, talking about failing.
Right.
You know, I've been shooting content. I feel like my content got really decent on a short time frame,
Yeah.
but I'm like, Brandon, I have plateaued. I'm stuck.
Right.
You're showing me like, here's how you improve from here. Like here's
Yeah.
little things that you can do with your camera. And it's really cool, man. I really appreciate you and your
Oh, yeah.
journey. Where's Heartfelt headed?
Oh, man. So honestly, Heartfelt is headed to, I think, more impact, more relationships to make a difference in this world, in the community of Vegas. And
What's the big, hairy, audacious goal? Give me something that I
man.
could put my finger on. So next year I could say, are you on track?
so Heartfelt is headed, like, I feel like we could definitely hit like 7 figures, you know, when we can start building this group of the team, building the systems in the next like year and a half.
Yeah.
Where, you know, our reputation with the core group of guys that we have, we can make a bigger impact in this community, because that's what we have done over the last, I would say, 4 months, where we're starting to split off. We're taking everybody's strengths in the group to, like, you do your thing. You can be the leader for this shoot.
Yeah.
So when you look at our company, it's like we're here, but I want to trickle down leaders
Totally.
within our company so they can sprout, so they can blossom into their full potential.
And leader comes from culture, internal
It does.
culture. And it's example from the top. And
Yeah.
there's 2 really good examples in this company
Oh,
at
yeah.
the top. So
Mhm.
that's exciting. You know, one day you and I, it sounds silly to say right now, but I can totally see you and I being on a stage one day together and telling
yeah.
like a story of our evolution. It
Right.
just seems so clear to me, like the path ahead,
Yeah.
you know? So Brandon, this has been absolutely super fun, so much fun. And man, I love what you're doing. I love your company so much. I love you, dude. And just want to support you. And yeah, you guys are on your way. Very successful. I just love the values of this company, the impact you're having on the community. It's been really fun to follow you, and then just all your mentorship and friendship.
Yeah.
That's been super meaningful. So dude, I appreciate you and I appreciate you taking the time to stick around and come into the Dynamis studio.
Oh, dude, this is awesome. And same thing about you, Tim. Like, ever since I met you back in the day, and just like to see your journey, your growth, your impact, and to see that, you know, this is the journey, like, we're headed together.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to see the power of like what we have going here, and just, you don't meet a lot of people, and just to see how God brought us together just from a photo shoot, you don't know where this is going to take us, and
Absolutely.
you don't know, you know, the amount of people that we can inspire too. So
Absolutely.
it's a blessing. So
Yeah, and that we get to lead too, really by
Yep.
example, you know, like we're kind of, it's becoming more common, but you know, being faith-led entrepreneurs, it's, you know, it's our obligation and our
Yep.
duty to spread the word and build the kingdom first and foremost. And so
100%.
that's what we're out there doing.
Oh yeah.
Bro, awesome episode. Well, I hope you guys got some value out of this week's episode. This was a blast for me. If nothing else, I just selfishly got to spend an hour with my friend who's super busy and I don't get his time all the time. So just, yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you all on the flip side. See you next week.
Well, dude,
Boom.
crushed. That was amazing.